For me, I think the biggest thing that football taught me was how to overcome adversity.
At some point in your life, you're going to have some tough times.
You have to have that next play mentality.
That cohesiveness and that working together, that's really something special that you can't get in a lot of other areas.
When you practice that and you live that in other phases of your life, it becomes second nature because all you know how to do is fight.
It's not an easy game. If it were easy, everyone would do it.
You start to appreciate the smaller contributions that people make. You don't just look at the big one because you knew it took 6 or 7 other guys who are unsung.
And you can't take shortcuts and be successful.
Doing what they do to make it possible for the guy getting the press clippings or whatever it might be.
In this game, whether it's as a coach or a player.
So I would certainly say that you definitely got a very quick lesson in how to overcome adversity playing football.
Philadelphia travels to East Rutherford, New Jersey to take on the New York Giants, and let's look at some keys to victory for both teams in this ball game, starting with the Eagles. Number one, I think they have to attack the backers of the Giants in the passing game. I think that's a matchup that they can exploit over the middle of the field, whether that's running backs being matched up versus backers or their 2 tight ends, Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz, matched up over the middle of the field. I think that's an area where Wentz can attack this Giants defense. And second, I think they have to give Sproles those lead dog carries in the backfield in the running game. Like we saw last week versus Dallas, Sproles is their number 1 back. He doesn't put the football on the ground. He's a threat when he touches the football, whether that's in a running game or the passing game. Allow him to be the lead dog, and I think that could lead the Eagles to victory. And third, they have to let Carson Wentz be Carson Wentz. Right now, I think they're over-coaching Carson Wentz, and they're trying to turn him into Alex Smith. He's not as aggressive running the football anymore. He's not as aggressive going deeper down the field anymore. And I think if you're the Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff, you don't want to limit your own offense by making it a dink and dunk short passing game. When the Eagles were 3-0, they still had the same targets at receivers, and they were going deeper down the field at times, a lot of times coming off of play action or just taking shots down the field to loosen up that shorter passing game. So they have to get back to allowing Wentz to be Carson Wentz, and I think they can get a much better output than what we've seen over the last 4 weeks. And for the Giants in this ball game, they have to make sure they start the game at 1 o'clock when the Philadelphia Eagles start the game. A lot of times teams tend to sleepwalk in the first quarter coming off of a bye. They can't allow that to happen versus a team that can really get up on you quickly because of how well they're able to run with tempo and pace, and also how well they're able to run the football and get you off the field defensively. Second, I think the Giants should operate with more of a no-huddle, up-tempo type of an offensive pace, because I think that's where Eli Manning is most effective. When you spread the field and allow him to run that 2-minute offense throughout the course of the game, that's when the Giants have some success. And defensively, the Giants have to be able to make plays in space on a consistent basis. I talked about how the Eagles will throw a lot of short passes, and they trust their receivers to make one miss and get up the field. You even think about it in the running game with Darren Sproles getting outside, making one miss in space. That's a nightmare matchup for anyone in space versus Darren Sproles. So again, if the Giants defense can be great tacklers in space, I think they have an outstanding chance of winning this one at home. As we go inside the film room, first I want to give a shout out to Crossover for the technology, but I wanted to take a look at a place where one of Wentz's flaws from college has to get better, as it'll directly affect this game versus the Giants, and that is his placement on his passes. And you'll see here versus the Cowboys, man coverage across the board, and it's up to Wentz to find the right and most favorable matchup and get him the ball. He makes the right read here to the top of the screen where he has Trey Burton, the H-back, matched up on a cornerback, and that's a matchup that you'll take all day long because you expect this tight end or H-back to play high post and snag the ball. But this ball has to be thrown up and away, but Wentz puts it inside at eye level, and the defensive back nearly picks it off. On his next throw, look at the matchup in the slot. The receiver runs a deep out route, and Wentz gets on the move, and he makes the correct read once again. But this ball has to be put outside, almost out of bounds per se, and Wentz puts it inside, which invites a beat corner to get back into the play, and he nearly picks it off. And on this third example, let's go back a few weeks against the Detroit Lions, which in my opinion was Wentz's best game. And at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the same situation we just saw. A wide receiver beats the corner on a deep comeback route. Wentz sees it properly, throws it once again inside, and the corner nearly makes the pick again. Listen, I'm stressing placement because this is important in this ball game. When you look at the two corners of the New York Giants, Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie and Janoris Jenkins, they both have excellent hands and where they can take advantage of errant throws. So Wentz has to be on point from a placement perspective in this matchup. Going inside the film room for the New York Giants, I think they have to communicate better between the second level and their safety, Andrew Adams. You'll see here in the first example versus the Los Angeles Rams in London, he's expecting the linebacker to be able to get a good bump or chuck on that slot receiver who's going to be running a post. So that way he'll have enough time to still tilt toward those top two routes, but still being in great position to undercut that post if it happens to be run. There was no chuck made, no bump made. The receiver was unrestricted going over the middle of the field, and it's a touchdown. Here's another example on 3rd and short. No rerouting, no bump, which allows the low crosser to come free, and it was wide open, but the receiver drops the ball, and it ends up being a pick six, so it worked out in the favor for the Giants. But again, it's that lack of communication that left the Giants vulnerable in the middle of the field. So again, that's why in this ball game, it's imperative that the communication get better and they get their hands on these receivers. Otherwise, Philly can pick them apart. I think the biggest X factor in this game for the New York Giants will be how well they can play on the perimeter. Their cornerbacks are going to have big-time days against these Eagles wide receivers. I think the Giants have to play up close on the line of scrimmage, which will get Carson Wentz to hold that football just a hair too long, which should allow their pass rush to be able to get back there and put him on the ground. But they can't do that if those corners on the outside, Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie and also Janoris Jenkins, even Eli Apple, if he's out there healthy, have to be able to get in the face and mix it up with these receivers to throw off the timing of that Eagles passing game. And for the Eagles in this ball game, the biggest X factor, in my opinion, are the tight ends. I love what they have with their personnel with Zach Ertz, Brent Selleck, and also Trey Burton. I think that's the matchup that they can exploit in a big-time way in this ball game against the New York Giants. They have the matchup advantage against those Giant linebackers. They even have the matchup advantage against the safeties, and that's both in the running game and also in the passing game. So it will behoove the Eagles to get those guys involved early and often against the New York Giants. I actually like the Giants in this ball game. Coming off of a bye, I think they're healthier in the secondary, which means you'll see better play on the perimeter. They'll be able to press up on those wide receivers that is now weakened now that Josh Huff has been released. They'll force Carson Wentz to hold that football a little bit too long. So you'll see that Giants pass rush start to get going in this ball game against Philadelphia. Now on the flip side, I think their passing game will have a lot of success. The biggest matchup to watch, in my opinion, is in the slot. Who's going to match up versus Sterling Shepard? The Giants have 3 excellent wideouts in Victor Cruz, Odell Beckham Jr., and Sterling Shepard. So who is going to be that third corner that's going to have the task of matching up one-on-one versus Shepard? And that's going to be the matchup that the Giants exploit. Again, it's tough to cover 3 good wide receivers. I think that's where the Giants have the slight advantage in this ball game, especially coming off of a bye. So look for the Giants to take care of business and knock off the Eagles at home.